This is Rabbi Chaim Kaufman. Welcome to our 200th installment. That's right, number 200 in our installment in the Torah portion of the week. We are holding by Parshas Vayishlach, another packed parsha. Speaks about Esav seemingly coming to attack Yaakov. We see the struggle between Yaakov and the angel of Esav. We see the confrontation. We see the abduction of Dinah and the destruction of Shechem and Hamor and the people there. And we see the birth of Binyamin. We see the death of Rachel. So it's quite a bit to speak about here. So the Torah tells me, chapter 33, chapter 35 verse 2, Torah tells me, God says to Yaakov, arise, go up to Beit Scale, and dwell there, make an altar there to God who appeared to you when you fled from Esav your brother. So Jacob says to his household, Jacob says, and all that were with him, discard the alien gods that are in your midst, cleanse yourselves, and change your clothes. So basically, Yaakov's telling the people that you got to change your clothes, got to get rid of the idols, right? It's a good question. Good question why they had idols, right? Seemingly it's forbidden, should be forbidden for them to have idols. Depends who we're talking about here. If they kept the entire Torah before it was given. But the Torah there says you have to change your clothes. Right? So what does it mean? What does it mean over here that you have to change your clothes? So it says, Mori v'Rebbe, Arav Agon or Moshe Machlita, should be well. Brings down in Chochmah V'das, and his commentary on Chumash. And he brings down Ibn Ezra. What does the Ibn Ezra say? That you learn out that every Jew, when they come to pray to their fixed place, right, there's a halacha that a Jew, when he comes to pray, should have a fixed place. Meaning he shouldn't go from place to place. He should have in synagogue or wherever he prays, synagogue, study hall, wherever it is, he should have a fixed place. In other words, he has a place where he always sits. Right? That's his fixed place. So he says Ibn Ezra, what do we learn out? That a person has to pray in a fixed place. He has to pray in a fixed place. His body has to be clean. Right? He can't have to go to the bathroom. He has to go to the bathroom. He can't pray. Or you're going to go to the bathroom first. Because that would be considered disgusting in God's eyes. Right? What that means is, and if a person has to go to the bathroom, then you don't delay, right? You go straight away. So a person has to go to the bathroom, you can't pray, right? In other words, you have to take care of your needs before you pray, right? So the Torah says, so my Rebbe here says, okay, according to Ibn Ezra over here, you have to have a fixed place to pray. You have to have a clean body, and certainly you have to have clean clothes. So Rashi brings down in the Talmud, and wants to look it up. It is Tractate Shabbat 113, page 113, and it says Rashi over there, you need a shinui begadim. You have to change your clothing when you stand in front of the king. Why do I have to change my clothing? I have to change my clothing because I'm coming in front of a king. Now it means I have to have clean clothes, right? I can't come in front of the king, in clothes that are dirty, right? You would never go, see an important person, president, vice president, king, queen, prime minister. You're not gonna go with a dirty shirt, right? You're not gonna go with a dirty sport coat. Let's say you're gonna go with clean clothes, right? Because that shows respect. And the code of Jewish law, Shulchan Aruch, Siman Tzadi Ches, right? 98.4. It says you should have nice clothing. And you should have, well, let's say better, you should have nice clothing specifically to pray. Right? Just like the Big Day Kahuna. Just like the clothing of the high priest. They had special clothing. So, if a person works and let's say someone's a painter, whatever, they're not going to wear their painting clothes when they go pray. They're going to wear nicer clothes. Right? You come in front of a king. You have to have specific clothing. Right? Now, it doesn't mean just have one outfit. You can wear many different things. Right? As long as the clothing are clean and it's honorable to go in front of a king. So it comes on the Chidah, one of the Torah giants, about 300 years ago. It comes on the Chidah, and the Chidah says that someone who's got fear of heaven, he's going to wear special clothing whenever he does a mitzvah, whenever he learns, whenever he prays. In other words, a person's going to eat, you shouldn't eat in dirty clothes. Person's going to do a mitzvah. You don't do a mitzvah in dirty clothes. You should have nice clothes when you do a mitzvah. So he says over here, he says that nice clothing is not only for prayer. We'll speak about prayer. But it's not just for prayer. He says when a person learns Torah, he keeps mitzvahs. He has to wear nice clothing. Otherwise, it's called disgusting. Right? So I've gotten the question a number of times, why do I have to dress the way I dress? Someone once told me they're embarrassed the way I dress. I'm like, the only difference between the way I dress and you dress is I wear a white shirt every day. I have a blue suit, gray suit, let's say, with or without pinstripes, wear a yarmulke on my head, tzitzis, and a hat when I pray, when I go out. So I said that, we almost dress the same, in many ways. You're going to see me in jeans? No. You're going to see me in shorts? Only when I go to the beach. Right? Even if it's hot. So we'll speak about clothing. But he's saying anytime you do a mitzvah, you do it in dirty clothing. In clothing that's not fitting to be in front of a king. It's called disgusting. It's called mocking. Mocking the mitzvah. Now, again, let's say a person's clothes are not disgusting. We're not talking you just came in from painting, came in from a workout, now you're going to sit down to eat. No! Right? Just take a shower, clean yourself off, look like a mensch, and then you should eat. Why? Otherwise, it's called the bizui. It's called like you're scoffing at the mitzvah. Now, I can understand, and again, we're gonna speak more about this, but I could understand just in this point that if you tell me it's only about prayer, then I understand. Because I'm standing in front of a king, I'm praying to that king. I can't look like a schlep in my language. Can't be a schlep. You gotta look nice. You're going in front of the king. But if I want to sit down to eat, isn't the king still around? True. King's still around. What if a person wants to drink, have a drink of water. Let's say they worked out. They're on their exercise machine or whatever. They want to drink. What? I have to wait to take a shower to have a drink? No. Right? But in general, when I do a mitzvah, the point is, when I do a mitzvah, a person does a mitzvah, you got to be dressed appropriately. You got to remember you're in front of God at all times. So whether I learn, whether I am doing a certain mitzvah, I'm going to pray, that's obvious. I can't look like a schlep. I have to have fear of heaven. I have to dress the way I should dress. I have to dress nicely. But the Chidah says it doesn't just have to do with prayer. Any mitzvah I do, I need to be dressed appropriately. So Maybe here says there's a distinction. What's the distinction? If a person's wearing clothing that's not so nice, or even if they're dirty, then what do we say? Now, it's not only forbidden to pray in those type of clothes, but even to learn Torah. And therefore, you have to change your clothes. So a person goes to learn, realize you got a stain on your shirt, got to change it. You say, well, someone who learns, you say they have the status of Talmid Chacham, of a rabbinic scholar. A rabbinic scholar, my language, can't go out looking like a schlep. He's got to look nice, got to look distinguished. He's got to look honorable. Now, let's say you're not a rabbinic scholar. Right? Whenever you learn, doesn't matter. Whatever fixed amount of time you have to learn. You go to synagogue to learn, you can't look like a schlep. You got to look nice. So Rabbi here says, he says, you can't wear disgusting clothing, not just by prayer, but also by learning. But let's say it's not so, it's not so bad. Let's say the clothing's not so bad. But it's just not honorable. He's not wearing his best suit. They're not wearing his best sport coat. Okay, it's been used a lot. So even if it's been used a lot, do I say he's got to change it for something better? So Rabbi here says, for any other mitzvah, I don't have to change it. Even if it's not the nicest, okay, but it's still respectable. If it's not respectable, forget it, then I can't wear it. But he says, but by tefillah, but by prayer, it's a different law. It's a different law altogether. Why? Because there's something else going on. It's called Hikon Likros Elokecha. Person has to be prepared. He's got to look nice in front of his God. Right, again, my language, can't look like a schlep. When it comes to prayer, you gotta wear your best. Can't wear second best. But to learn Torah, or to do other mitzvahs, it's a nice thing to wear your best clothing. Obligated? Not obligated. So, there's a very big distinction here. There's a distinction between learning Torah and doing other mitzvahs and prayer. The difference is, by prayer, I have to wear my best. Doing other mitzvahs, I don't. So, he brings up another novelty from the Ibn Ezra. Right? The Ibn Ezra says, over here, that a person goes to synagogue. Right? A person has to wear clean clothing. Right? They have to be clean. All the more so, the clothing has to be fitting. So what does that mean? What does it mean? It has to be fitting to be worn, and it has to be clean. So here my Rebbe says, in almost anything else, the person goes out, it's not the, you're not the cleanest of clean. You might get away with it doing other things. Maybe there's not so much stringency over here. But when it comes to a synagogue, you always need to pray in a fixed place. Your clothing always needs to be clean. So he said that's another novelty. Because if a person goes out, let's say he's not going to synagogue. Let's say, he's going shopping. Now, some people, when they go shopping, they don't necessarily wear, if they're like me, wear like a hat and jacket. Some people do, some people don't. And so they'll say, okay, I'm not going to a place to pray. I'm not necessarily doing any mitzvahs over here, even if you're going shopping. What am I doing? Shopping. Not going to synagogue. So, when I go outside, maybe we're not as stringent. Maybe I'm not as stringent. Sometimes you only see people wearing a jacket and a hat when they pray. And they go other places, they don't necessarily wear it. Doesn't mean it's not important. Doesn't mean they're not wearing the uniform. It's just, I don't know, if they want to chill. You know, to go to the post office, why should I wear a hat and jacket? Have a yarmulke on, I'm wearing tzitzis. Right, well, we'll speak about that. But what he's saying over here is that even when you go anywhere, you dress the part. You know, there is nothing temporary over here. In other words, you tell me it's so important, it's so crucial, go to synagogue dressed that way. I understand this is din of Hikon. Din of Hikon is I have to dress in front of a king. That I get. But if I'm going out temporarily, going to the bank, going shopping, there's no status of Hikon over here. Hikon only applies when it's talking about prayer. We're not talking about anything else. I'm not doing any other mitzvah. I'm just waiting in line in the bank, going food shopping, or wherever I'm going. So maybe explains from Ibn Ezra. When a person goes out, you might say, "Oh, I don't need to be so stringent. I'm not going to wear my hat and jacket." You say it's temporary. When it comes to synagogue, no such thing. All right, so what do we see from here? All right, the main thing here is a person goes to synagogue, you got to dress appropriately because you're coming in to the king. Synagogue is what we call a mikdash ma'at. It's a small temple, small Beis HaMikdash. We don't have a temple today. Right? No temple standing in Jerusalem, just the outer wall. So therefore, the temple becomes the place where I learn, where I pray. Right? Synagogue. So therefore, I have to dress the part. I remember, growing up, I used to go to synagogue, certainly on Shabbos. I was only allowed to wear certain things. Why? Respect. I saw how other people dressed. I'm not even going to go into that. Horrific. I'm not saying they were wearing, like they were going to the beach. But the decorum wasn't what it should have been. There is decorum in the synagogue. Tremendous decorum in the synagogue. The holiness is so great, got to be careful what I say. It's bad enough a person speaks Lashon Hara, don't speak in the synagogue. Don't speak frivolous words. Don't waste time in the synagogue. Because of what the synagogue represents. So here I go into a synagogue. No question about it, I got to dress the part. I got to look like I'm going in front of a king. But anywhere else I go, I don't have to be necessarily impeccably dressed. I don't have to wear my finest if I'm just going shopping. I'm going to the mall, going to the bank, going to the post office. So over here, as long as the clothing is respectable, any other mitzvah I do or whatever I'm doing, I don't have to wear my finest. Oh, it comes to synagogue, I get it. Synagogue, you always have to be on. And therefore, the clothing has to reflect that. So when a person goes to synagogue, you have to wear your best. Again, you don't wear it. I'm not saying necessarily during the week you have to wear Shabbos clothes. Right? You have to wear the best of the best. That's what the Chidayer says. Right? He says it's not just going to synagogues anytime. So if you're telling me it's about going to synagogue, only wearing your best, I get it. You should wear nice clothing. You should definitely wear nice clothing. Question's gonna be, what about if I'm not praying? If I'm doing a mitzvah? I'm learning. I go to the bank. Well, going to the bank's not the same as learning. Even if you're thinking and learning while you're in line. It's not the same. So if there's a uniform in the outdoor Orthodox community, longer coats, shorter coats, bigger hats, smaller hats. That's the uniform. White shirt, dark gray suit, with or without pinstripes. Dark blue, with or without pinstripes. Black, with or without pinstripes. Very easy to shop. Alright, not so hard to shop. So if that's the case and that's my uniform, isn't it true? Maybe I should wear it everywhere. Why should I relax the standard? Because someone, let's say, they're not going to wear their hat and jacket while they go shopping. They'll definitely wear it when they pray. Right? That no one's going to argue. So there are people that will say are a little more chilled. And if they're more chilled, they'll go out without a hat and jacket. That's what they'll do. Now, does that make it forbidden? Doesn't necessarily make it forbidden. Right, but if a person understands, this is who I am, this is what I represent, then wherever they go, they'll wear the uniform. Now you're going to say, what if I'm going bike riding? What if I'm, playing ball or whatever? Okay, so you're not going to wear your best, obviously. You wear a different type of clothing. But in the end, wherever you go, shouldn't you be dressed appropriately? Should be dressed appropriately. Now again, not everyone's going to agree. They'll say, I understand when I pray, when I learn, when I do other mitzvahs. So what should be the issue? You'll dress the way you need to dress. Okay? But if I'm out and about, everyone's going to know that you're a religious Jew. They'll see by the way you're dressed. Doesn't matter. You have a hat on. You don't have a hat on. They'll see who you are. But I would say, and again, this is my opinion, but I think it's echoed by others as well, that even if you go into anywhere else, in general, the bank, the post office, shopping, you should dress the part. You're going to say, but it's not an honorable place. I'm just getting fruits and vegetables, meat, other things. But see, we don't compartmentalize. We don't say, well, when I, like some people say, when I pray or when I eat, I'll put on a yarmulke. I'll put on a skull cap, a kippah. When they finished, put it away. But then we have an obligation to think about God wherever we are. What, I should take off my yarmulke when I'm in the bathroom? Get the mitzvah wearing it. Okay, in the bathroom I can't think of Torah. True. But doesn't mean I stop being a Jew. They're going to say this is a little bit harsh. What are you going to say? This person's not a Jew if they don't wear a hat and jacket wherever they go? No, I'm not saying that. What we're saying is you don't want to relax the standard. Does that mean if a person goes out without their hat and jacket, they're going to pray without it? No. Right, that far they're not going to go. But if a person wants to stay strong, in spiritual terms, then wherever you go, the uniform goes with you. Then you tell me, and this is a much bigger discussion we're not going to go into because I've spoken about it before, and that is why are we so stringent on externals? There are people that wear the right thing, walk the walk, talk the talk, and they're rotten from the inside. True? 100% true. But it's who at least we want to represent. We don't just represent who we are while we're in synagogue. While I'm learning. while I'm doing other mitzvahs. So is that to say if I go out without a hat and jacket, I'm not a Jew anymore? No. But when you go out, that's what you represent. And if that's what you represent, I would say that's who you are, that's what you wear. You don't change. You stay consistent. You know, there are people that relax their standard when they go out. But that could be that, they just want to relax. It doesn't say anything about the Judaism. One of my son-in-law said, I spoke about the Sheva Brachas. When my second daughter got married, my son-in-law had said, it's an honor to wear a hat and a jacket. Not just as a uniform. But that's who I am. That's what I represent. That's someone who has Yiras Shamayim. That's someone who has fear of heaven. Because he got the message. And the message is, where you go doesn't matter. What you wear comes with it. Now, a person is not going to fry in hell forever. They don't wear their hat and jacket to go shopping. There are a lot of people that don't. But I don't see the reason why to bring down that standard. It's because you want to chill a little bit. I mean, I get it. Could be hot out. Could be extremely hot. Makes sense. I want to be a little bit warmer. A little bit cooler. But in the end, we shouldn't be interested in relaxing the standard. Because all you have to do is relax it a little bit, and it goes haywire. Goes absolutely haywire. You think someone doesn't wear a hat and jacket to go outside. They go to the post office, and that means they're gonna fry. They're gonna all of a sudden not keep Shabbos. No, doesn't mean that. Does it mean in the future their resolve could be weaker? No. I'm not saying it has no effect. I think it has some effect. But it's not going to force a person to all of a sudden start desecrating all these things. If you see any great rabbi today, wherever they go, you don't see them go out, without a jacket and a hat. You're going to say they're different, they're rabbinic scholars, they have more responsibility. Very well could be. But don't we want to be like them? Maybe a little bit of rub off on us. We take ourselves a little more seriously, maybe. Clothing does make the person. But you have to have something on the inside. If you have the desire, the wish on the inside, okay. It's a full package. If a person's rotten from the inside, doesn't matter what you wear. Not going to help. So I can understand. I go to synagogue, I'll dress the part. I'll be impeccable. Look impeccable. When I go other places, I'll look good. but I don't have to look impeccable. And if your clothing's clean, then that's good enough. I don't want to wear my best. Only when I pray. Or do I say no? When I do other mitzvahs, I also have to be impeccable. And really, that's the way it should be. Because we're not going to have double standard. If I'm going to wear nice clothing, clean clothing, when I go to synagogue, I'm for sure going to do it when I do any other mitzvah. Why would I lessen that? No reason to. Only question is, when I go other places, when a person goes other places, do they dress the same or not? That's really, that's really the question here. And that's what we have to realize. That wherever we go, we should dress the part. Because we don't want to bring down our standard. We want to be consistent across the board. Again, person's painting, playing ball, you're not going to wear the same. True. We're talking about doing mitzvahs. Right? We're talking about learning Torah. So by doing that, we show its importance. And we show how that can affect us. It can affect others. And help us reach our true potential. So I want to remind everyone, I have a class on duties of the heart every Tuesday, 9 o'clock New York time, on the gate of repentance, speaking about tshuva, repentance. I do a Q&A twice a week, every Tuesday, Thursday, 10 o'clock New York time, 5 o'clock Israel time. I have a class in the book of Leviticus every Sunday, 9 o'clock New York time. Tanakh Talk every Monday, 2 o'clock Eastern time. Controversial issues every Saturday, 2 o'clock Eastern time, 9 o'clock Israel time, Pirkei Avos, Ethics of Our Fathers. I also have conversion classes. Anyone interested in any of these, find me on Facebook, Beyond Orthodox Conversion to Judaism. You can send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RABBICHAIMCOFFMAN @gmail.com.